Let's write a system to serialize our dispersion storages into the hard drive and deserialize them back into the game. Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. In previous episode, we finished our storage system and most of our infrastructure other than the stack payload and the list of stack payload and this serializer. When we finish these three classes, the whole API is infrastructurally ready, and then we can move forward with the rest of the API, like having a sided connector or a block entity that contains it and things like that. Normally, when I think about a serializer, I think about an interface that I implement somewhere, or I don't know, a class that I extend from it. However, here we will use a record. Now, remember, records are basically classes behind the scene with setters and getters. However, using it this way gives us much more flexibility because records are immutable, and this is important. So we want a T extends storage of type dispersion variant, and as the value we want a T, we call it a storage. I implement an interface that is mine, data serializer, and I immediately ask the system to implement the methods. This is save additional and load additional values. These will be used to serialize and deserialize the values on the hard drive and from hard drive. Now, save additional will be used when you are saving the game and closing out of the game. It will read some values from blocks or block entities, or I don't know, maybe items, wherever you want, and it will put them on the hard drive. So this is saving additional values as output. Here we want to check if the storage instance of single dispersion storage, and we call it single dispersion storage, why not? Then we want to do things. If we are not single dispersion storage, we will throw an exception, throw new unsupported operation exception, and we say cannot write dispersion storage of type plus the storage dot get class dot get name. Now, to write our data, we say view.put long as the key, we say be plus be keys dot dispersion amount. This is the amount of the dispersion, and then we say single dispersion storage dot get amount. Then we say view dot store. Now this needs a codec because we want to store something that is not a base type, or a basic type I should call it, and we say be plus be keys dot dispersion variant, and then dispersion variant dot codec. This guides the system how to serialize it, and finally the value will be the single storage dot get resource. This will serialize every data we want from a single storage on the hard drive. Now, reading it back is exactly the reverse process. So we check if the storage instance of single dispersion storage, we call it single dispersion storage. If that's the case, that's okay. Then here we call else. Else we want to throw an exception, and we say cannot read dispersion storage of type that. Single dispersion storage dot amount equals to view dot get long, or, and for the key is be plus be keys dot dispersion amount. And if we can't read it, then by default we want the 0L as the long. Then we want the variant to be equal to view dot read. The key is be plus be keys dot dispersion variant. However, now I notice that I need dots here, okay? And then we want the codec, so that's dispersion variant dot codec. Now this gives us an optional, so we say or else. If we couldn't read it, we say dispersion variant dot blank. So if we can't read anything, just give us a blank variant. And this is our serializer for the dispersion storage. However, right now our dispersion storage is just storing amount and the variant of the dispersion. Later, we may want to add things like the list of item stacks, or maybe the fluid variants or gas variants, whatever I want. And at At that time, I need to come back and revisit this class so that I will serialize them on the hard drive. It's not really hard, but it should be done. Anyway, after this class, finally we can go with the stack payload. And honestly, I want to talk about the stack payload in another video because it's a totally different beast. Have fun, everyone. Bye.